funny how they really make it simple.
to
And it's
broaden
going
the
to
system?
Scott Weinberg, so it's not really like to, it'll be fourth branch is where we're going to do most, I'm going to do most of the publishing on this
Yeah.
because the fourth branch media is what it's really about. But it's more for the practice right now. So everyone just gets used to it. And then you start to distinguish, oh, we need to track some notes. Got to make sure the sound's off, sounds off. Great. So we can start to track notes. So
Yeah, I
hey,
think it's a
this
good
is
idea.
Scott Feinberg, and I'm with Deborah Pardes, and this is the fourth branch, and we're doing Locamor, and the greater mothership is actually the Eden Cooperation, which we will unpack a little bit today, because it's the mission to make the world work, and per Buckminster Fuller, or to generate paradise on earth, called Eden in the ancient book.
That's the cooperative by the
Thing. It's a
hanging out.
cooperation. It's a little bit different than a cooperative. We'll unpack that too. But one of the key projects, our first project, and our Trojan, like disguised simplicity is Locamore, right? Because it's important. It's our ethic too, is to do local stuff and help local people connect, self-express, better local economy, circular economy, more fun jobs, more fun, more connection, right? That's the heart and soul of it. And what's amazing about Deborah, and we're going to be working together, is Deborah's. I'm speaking to you third person right now while you're on screen, but we're trying to professionalize this very podcasty
We've
thing.
already talked for an hour, so I feel like I absolutely speak for me.
Right. Is Deborah's like a lifelong master in engaging community and building relationship and connection and having people find ways to be more intimate and present and able to just yeah, enjoy what we were talking about earlier, the joy of curiosity about ourselves and about others as probably the best game there is. I think it is. I don't have a replacement for it. That's going to be the heart and soul of our project and the ethic of the Eden Cooperation and of Locamore. And how we roll it out is not just an app or a chat bot that you engage with, but you learn what this is about through a friend to friend introduction and a moment to surprise, learn more about your friends than you thought was possible,
Mhm.
and see the immediate value to be seen, heard, understood, and connected, and to see the path that we can go on together doing this with this kind of thing at the foundation and the center of action. And that's why Deborah is really one of the most important people I've met and one of the most important people to this project that's going to shape the culture of something really big and powerful and beautiful that's not culty, that really is about culture.
Mhm.
It's really about culture.
It's funny that cult is part of that word culture. I never honestly looked at it like that, and I like that we can keep it long and not short because that
Yeah.
short version is so not what this is about.
So, I mean, I'm going to ask you what your understanding of, who you are. You get to reflect that too, just because I just do the introduction and say why wholly loosely shared about Locamore anyway in any YouTuber, anything so
Yeah,
far. So we're just kind of exposing it early stage. It'll be cool to hear what it is from your perspective and then what it could be.
yeah.
And then we'll just do some back and forth on that and get a little bit more functional about, what's your entrepreneurial project
Mhm.
within this ecosystem that's at the heart, that is the heart of this project, the pulsing heart of the project. Curious, right? But it's like division, whatever. It's the heart of the project. And then I'm gonna do the same thing with Jamie and with Ben and with Elliot. So
Mhm.
we just have each of us as like different facets on what it is early
Yeah.
on. Then we're gonna bring each other together. We're gonna bring everyone who's in LA together to do an in-person soon,
Yes.
where everyone takes the time to go off and shape their project. You're doing the heart, and Jamie's going to talk about how we like multiply hearts, right? And prepare to do that around LA. And she's going to be a student and a partner to what you're doing and what I'm doing. And then, yeah, and then and Ben Canyon Gas is going to help us weave this as an organization, and Elliot's giving us the tool to turn it into data and the really deep magic that'll come from us taking command of our data in the process and our profiles and our curiously expressed selves becomes this really important usable thing. It gives you your like persona wallet in blockchain language that you don't even own now. All your persona belongs to the machine in extractive tech, and we're flipping that, and we're doing it through a heart-based connection culture, which is a very radically different approach to doing a business or even a cooperative. Most of them are just
Mhm.
like join and you get discounts on food at the Santa Monica Co-op. Nope, we're going much deeper than that. Anyway,
Yeah.
okay, your turn. Who are you, Deborah?
Well, it's funny. I was thinking about not talking about myself because I think it's more, I will be revealed as I do this project with you because the CV's online, Google's not there, my website is mine. I think accomplishments are only, they're kind of static until you bring in what you learn to the next project. So for me, sitting with you, talking about a person becoming more known, a person showing up in the world as a full profile of herself, himself, their self is really what attracts me to this. In all the work I've done, whether it's corporate or social, I feel like there's only one measurement for me. Did a person feel elevated by an exchange they had? Whether they walked in there with an agenda to meet somebody who was X, maybe sexy or had a job or had housing, or maybe they had an agenda because they got out of bed and showed up. Sometimes what they get out of the showing up is nothing to do with what they thought they needed. It's what they discover. It's that curiosity. I always say the project I'm working on, the Playful Society, is about showing up and playing, but what that really is a gateway drug. Games are a gateway drug for connection. So I always say playful society is a society full of people that are curious and connected. That's it. That's what we are. And bringing that love to Locamor is so organic for me, Scott, because I am a person who would benefit from what you're building. And all I could do is make it personal. I'm a fabulous generalist my whole life. Ivy League educated, performing artist for 30 years, almost, actually 20 years. I left as soon as I possibly thought it was healthy to leave. But then I started doing all this beautiful work in podcasting and corporate training and in building a nonprofit for low-level readers. And all those things were one thing. They were connecting people in a space and time that had a theme. But when people left those experiences, they had completely different experiences because you walk in with an expectation and you're going to have somewhat of a letdown because the world doesn't work that way. I always tell people, like, if you're in the bathroom and someone's looking in the mirror while you're looking in the mirror and you're washing your hands and you just came from an event, you have a choice. Do you greet them? And if you greet them, are you reflecting on what just happened? Or are you going to sort of chunk it back down to, hey, we're in the bathroom together. How are you? It's that level of like small talk versus, connection. And when you've had an experience together, you're going to be in that bathroom totally different than if you were just strangers having a weird, like, nice to see you today. So I always feel like what's the glue? The glue is the common experience, but the outcome is everything and anything you want it to be. And Locamore to me is a digitization at a very plain level of like there is a there there. The there there is you're going to profile yourself in a very profoundly unique way where you're not just who you've been and what you've done. It's the full holographic 3D experience of being able to articulate the person you are that can offer things that are way beyond just a vocation and even a professional profile. It's your gestalt. It's your ability to say, and by the way, I do this on Thursday nights. That to me is something I want you to know more about. I always tell a story of an event I did, a show and tell event where someone who worked with someone for 11 years never knew that she skydived on weekends. And 11 years of not knowing that is profound to me. What culture do you have that you don't know the person you're with skydives on weekends? We have to break that. And that's kind of my love. I'm doing what I love. I love seeing people connect and improving their lives because of it. And that's who I am. So it's such a beautiful match, and I feel like I said this to Scott about it 45 minutes ago, that some people need to be messaged differently than others. And of course, the big people in Mad Men know that. But it's our responsibility to really say what events speak to people in a very beautiful way so that the quieter voices get to emerge, so that people feel welcome and not a wallflower, so that they feel like they can talk to the person that looks aspirational to them, or they can walk to a person who's lonely and connect. These are things you take back into your car when you drive home and you say, wow, I love how I showed up. And I love how someone showed up for me. And I'm taking that culture back to my wife or to my job or to my kids. That the viral aspect, the ripple idea of Locamor is that if we're going to give you a profile that shows who you are, we better help you create a world that you manifest through that identity. Because you can't just say I'm 12,000 things, or maybe you're just one thing. Maybe you're a farmer, but how do you relax as a farmer? What do you do at night? That's as important to us as the fact that you grow beans during the day. I'm gonna get my cord, or else my computer's gonna die, which is so
Do
fun
it.
because I get to stretch. I'm gonna
Yeah.
stretch.
Stretch, and I'm gonna like fill in a little bit while you're doing that. It's like it is your offers, and most of us have more to offer than just our job, right? The side gigs, your passions, your home, what you're up to, what you care about. And there's the nuance in your asks to be able to be clear about what it is you want, your desires, your needs, and to understand how to communicate it, how to make it relatable, how to make it clear, like offers and asks, but also how you be and how you are, right? So that thing that a lot of my hippie friends will be like about, and they're like, oh, it's all about being, it's about how you are present. And it's like, well, I'm present differently with different people. Like with musical people, I like to be able to be with people who understand how to weave musically together and not just be like dominant singer or a person on stage blasting at me. I mean, I like that some of the time, but most of the time I'm like a very collaborative singer, dancer. So there's how you be, how you are, how you offer, what you offer, multiple, what you're asking for, in all my dimensions. We don't have a place to do that safely from a data perspective alone. We've been, like I say, and this is bold and trigger language for some, we've been data raped since the beginning of the internet. There's no place that we actually own and
Absolutely.
possess our own data. And we're going to be doing that not as a backdoor thing. It's a very important feature of this that we take ownership of our own self definition and have a place to hold that safely. So, not just pouring my guts out to my GPT coach, but to my AI and my data set and right. It's different when it's yours. And like you said, you invited people into your home this weekend. This is my bridge in this podcast. You part of the interview and get to know Deborah is to share the way of it
Mhm.
that you literally invite people into your home and have for years. But yesterday, it's part of your work where these merge in sacred action
Mhm.
and functional and modeling this business that you're actually starting that happens to align very well with what we're doing as a partner to what we're doing, right?
Mhm.
At the same time as you are going to be an employee and contractor to what we're doing. It's both, curiously. I mean, that's how profound the alignment is that I feel.
Yeah.
What was it like last night and who did you invite, right? And what
Yeah.
happened last night at your house?
Last night was a follow-up from I wanted to soft launch this idea of a society that's full of play. That's why the playful is spelled with two L's and two words. So a society full of play. So the Playful Society launched, I thought about it many months ago and back in the summer. And then I had something in October, where it was more of a announcement of the intentions. We ate some food and we played some games. Last night was then the follow through of promise. Let's get together and have the same event, but it's really just about play. So people came. I gave them a warm up, which that's the promise of playful, which is that I'm not going to say here's a space, come with your backgammon. You could do that at a cafe. This is a place where you meet people that are like-minded, that know that life is so much more beautiful and quite profoundly efficient when you have a play mindset, because play opens up every field in your brain to do better work, better ideating, better conversation. So last night they came in and I had a bespoke project I was working on for Playful, which is helping people meet in a small space. How do you do that when you're cramped in a home that I have that can't hold more than 25 in a room? But that's the amount I had, and everyone got a letter. Um, and there was something on the television, which was these three words, because it's backwards. It says dancers tangled baklava. And you had a letter, and your letter fits into one of these words, right? So you had to find somebody else who finally the room was filled with a group of dancers, a group of tangled, a group of baklava. They belonged in that word because they had an A or a V or an L. And then once they were there, they were talking to each other because they were all part of one word. But then when we convened, I said, okay, now that you have these three words, each you're going to go off in a different room and you're going to create a murder mystery using these characters, these ideas, these elements that somehow dancers tangled in baklava is part of a murder mystery. The challenge is that whatever your letter is, that's the letter that starts the word of your sentence of the story. So everyone, a leader didn't emerge because everyone has to be a part of it with their letter. So I layered it in terms of imagination, creativity, goofiness, but the integral part is that you have to be a part of the organism. And it was wonderful. And they came up with three completely different murder mysteries in about 25 minutes. And then after that, we ate baked potatoes and curry and back beans and salad. And then we sat by the fire and then people played games for 3 hours. It sounds like it's very hosted. It's very curated. It's very facilitated. And I
Can
feel
I
like,
just, I just, yeah, bookmark your thing for a sec. I just want to say, like, this is the central, probably the most important person in each neighborhood that will be the center of Locamor, just to put it in context, right? So Locamor is about neighborhoods. They're about 5,000 in America. And it's like this around the world where people identify that, oh, I live in Atwater Village. Oh, I live in
that's right.
Larchmont. Oh, I live in Highland Park. I'm Upper West Side. I live in this part of Omaha, right? Whatever it is, downtown Omaha. Everyone's in a neighborhood. Usually it's walk or biking distance. And if we can build more connection and resilience and economy and exchange and awareness and transparency of who's actually there by
Mhm.
becoming clear about our offers, our asks, and our way of being and who we like to hang with, introverts, extroverts, or I'm ready for a challenge. Um, you open up a whole world that competes very powerfully with extractive attention economy, Netflix and doom scrolling that pulls it out
Right.
there.
That's right. Towards this.
Amazon pulls it out there. Food that goes out to corporate, I don't know where to go, and it's going to the Chipotle corporate extractive, publicly traded 90% of the money goes to and instead it goes like local farm to local cook who brought the local food and you pay $10 there, $15. They're very happy making some money with a big single pot thing that took them no time because they know how to whip that out. And you've got local facilitation that's becoming artful, like Deborah, doing what they already love to do and getting our profiles super refined in the process while you're
But
having a
I
fun
want to
life.
reflect on something about the connection between profiles and exchanges and then the Eden perspective, because I think it's really important because as I've been ideating about like, who is this guy Scott? What am I doing? Is this something that I should put my love, energy, and time towards? And what really clicked for me when I was thinking about this was this you see graphic information all the time that the internet tries to teach you things through Venn diagrams or triangles or graphs. And I'm a very visual person, but I don't work in that way. I work more in scribbles. But I was scribbling something recently about the individual person at their breakfast table, maybe having a bit of a heart palpitation about their day, and they're checking their emails, they're checking their feeds, they're checking maybe even places where they posted for something, a job or whatever. And there's a decentralization right in that moment because you're allowing yourself to be owned by all these other places that you're hoping someone will see you in. But when you're in a place like Locamore and you're able to feed information to that profile on a daily basis, that's not social media. It is your private space and you're feeding it. If someone goes to you to discover that, that's part of the magic of Locamore through the layer of AI that will help people find you. But to centralize that anxiety in the morning, to say, this is where I belong, this is all of me, this is the update of me. I know that people, if you look at a Substack, that's a way of showing people how smart you are and what you're thinking today, but it's not nurturing the part of you that's doesn't have something to say today at all. So what if you create, or what if when we create this entity, this this thing that helps your neighbors check in with you because they're going to see what your wow, I'm looking for someone with that skill, and I recall, or I need to meet you in that moment. There's that beautiful extension of that moment from your table to someone seeing what you just added to. And then that brings you more closer to your community. And then you have the audacity to say, what if this was where I actually lived every day, metaphorically, but then physically? Because I think when I first heard you, Scott, talk about Eden, I come from a Jewish background, as do you, and I have family that has lives in kibbutzim like places. They're not literally, one is kibbutz, the rest are in yeshuvs, they're in villages. And they're different. They're different ecosystems of economies and things. But the bottom line is Israel is a great place. I know people misinterpret what Israel is, but for me, with family there, I know that it's a place that has several Edens where people are cooperating and living together and loving together and building and innovating and solving cancer and building desalination machines. Like, it's kick-ass innovation because they're playing, because their bodies are engaged, and at night they're dancing and they're acting and they're singing and they're saying sheshbesh, the backgammon. And that's the world that's possible because it's happening. So if Locamor can capture people's imagination around identifying their whole selves, not just LinkedIn self, they're going to start seeing the ripple effect of meeting people who found them. And by finding them in Locamore, they already share a language. And if they share a language, they could share a meal. If you could share a meal, you could share a home.
Yeah,
So it's that.
yeah, go. Sorry. Yeah,
No, I'm just saying, I wanted you to know that I was drawing this out because I'm a hard ass when it comes to like the left brain saying, how can I realize this in a way that's out of my mouth and into. That's why I like cooking, by the way, Scott, because cooking to me is a best metaphor for bringing new things into the kitchen all the time, but knowing the output is somebody at a table who's real and has an empty stomach that's going to fill it. And that circle for me, it makes me happier in the kitchen because I'm like, okay, I'm doing this now and I'm feeling this really crazy space and it's creative, it's messy, and there's food on the floor, but there's always someone to help me clean up. And so that is sort of this positioning I've been putting this in. It's like it's a big old kitchen, but the elements of it can be as restricted as you want. So if you're a person who wants to say, I'm a gardener, and you don't want to talk about the fact that you had cancer, that's fine. You're a gardener. But one day you might add a field that says, I'd like to talk about my cancer. It might take you 4 years to say it, but that's the warmth we're creating that you don't have to talk about. We're not going to force you to get deep.
yeah.
We're not a cult, we're a culture.
Yeah, and then this opportunity where you start to see the magic. First, it's like just matching offers and asks. Topanga has more going on any given weekend, as does Highland Park, than Esalen, Omega Institute, Kripalu, and all the retreat centers combined in America. Our neighborhoods, and this applies even in the Midwest towns, has that network. Maybe not the most masterful practitioners, then, but you don't have a directory or way to even have that kind of a weekend
Yeah,
or a
that's
collaboration. You
true. I
don't
don't know
know
half the things going on. Yeah.
who the collaborators are for your very functional project. Or as simple as I'm going to go for a walk in Griffith Park, and I don't feel like walking alone. And here's what I'm interested in right now. Oh, shoot, there's someone who is available for a walk, who listened to a similar podcast or loves this kind of thing. And we've got some good conversational thing for discovery, or we're just going to do discovery because we're curious. And I know they're a friend of a friend, so I'm safe.
That's great. Yeah. And that was the
Right?
promise. That was the promise of Meta, but it didn't work out. I'm
Yeah,
a friend of Scott's and Meta, but there's no functional place that I could actually talk to Scott's friend. So it's, I think that now is the time to do it because technology has caught up to your ideas.
yeah. And then one other piece that I think we don't have that much more time, but we're going to unpack a little bit about you for the sake of our collaborators, because that's who's probably going to watch this first, is not everyone having to do their bio for everyone. Literally take the time to like read the TLDR, or if you're curious, hopefully you're curious enough, and we should be about each of us. Um, that you just worked at a tech app company for how many years in your role? And I love the name, by the way. Swell is one of my favorite. terms that I almost wanted to do for a skateboard snowboard business because it was like, why is there no brand in this sector that's called swell? Because like the wave, and it just means like that's swell, dude. 1960s speak about that's cool, right? I love swell. So who came up with that? What was the thing? And
Sure.
we can talk a little bit mournfully about it. We don't have to get into anything
Oh,
like
no, no. Heavy, right. It's December 8th as we speak, Scott, and December 15th, they're scraping the whole world and it will not exist. So it's a very tender time for me because soon swellcast.com won't exist, soon swell.life won't exist, soon the app won't exist. And they're doing that for professional reasons, I guess. I don't really understand, but I guess they want to. I'll have stuff on YouTube, thank God, that I can save as a podcast. But they approached me in November 2019. They were looking for someone who knew podcasting and who knew health. And I was doing a podcast on menopause. So, and I had been in podcasting since 2004. So they knew I had the background and they were looking for a number three to help them build conversations about health. And we did that for about 6 months. And then George Floyd and COVID happened at the same time. And we knew people needed to talk about health, but also about social justice and crime and the world. So we built basically a podcasting app that enables full on asynchronous conversation. Very different than Clubhouse. Clubhouse was about live, raise your hand, am I good enough to talk to you? Swell, everyone has agency. They could pick up their phone and reply to anybody. I had conversations with the likes of Steve Wozniak and Stephen Fry, and they were all around the globe, but I was able to have asynchronous podcasts with them, which now you can hear as a whole podcast, and you didn't know it took us a week, but we just answered each other when we wanted to. It was a brilliant idea. The founders are good people, but I think the big weakness is that they had exited their last company very comfortably, and they were in B2B very comfortably, and this is B2C, and it was bootstrapping, and they didn't have the social currency to really network it. And I was down here; they were up in Silicon Valley, and we only had a couple more employees for 6 years, and the rest were engineers in India. So we didn't have a company culture to hold the excitement of this app. It was just me and a few gearheads. And I was lonely and I was lost and I tried my best. And I went to conferences. I spoke at South by Southwest. I did everything I could. But when you don't have the heads, you're laughing. When you don't have the heads, uh, you have to follow the head. But in terms of the pragmatic aspect of this meeting, I just want to say the skill sets I deployed were building bridges between engineers and product designers and me and the needs of the users. So I did the
and
whole thing.
you led this thing to be a beautiful, functional, user-friendly, charming in the way that Playful Society's website is charming. And I look at this and I go like, oh my God, like you said, multidisciplinary early on. And we talked a little bit offline before about left brain, right brain, and this balance of multidisciplinary generalists with special favorite things is a case study for this multifaceted human that I guarantee you most of us are in LA and everywhere craving to be. The Gen Alpha and Gen Z take to this like water. When they hear that we want them to be this and this is for them to be themselves this way, they're going to be like, yeah, I just
Possible,
I
possible. It's great.
I know it, right? And then like I have it in my heart already, and I know you're like, oh, I'm just dying. I'm like, can we license it and rebrand it as the Locamor podcasting app?
It would be
And
amazing. You have 4 days. I wish you would do it. It's
no,
just,
it's to license the technology. They own it with an option to buy, like your rent to buy situation. You say, we just want to use the existing thing, maintain it, and like sign a thing so it's not we're not going to use it in a way that you'll be liable. It's going to be a separate brand, so it doesn't happen under Swell where your name is associated. But honestly, the other thing that I'm getting the hit for is the Locamore podcast with Deborah is running through our program with people who are willing to do it publicly so that
yeah.
you can see, and this is what Elliot has designed.
I
You're going to
love
have a
that. Love that.
dashboard where you'll see your profile taking shape in front of you when you're in our app version of it. So you'll be able to interact with the Locamore agent, what I'm calling, or the assistant, the Locamore intelligent assistant, Leah,
Yeah.
might be our name for our little
Yeah.
being, our trans being that's helping us in our chat groups. But Leah might say, I want to go deep. And then you go into the Locamore web apps. It's just a link and you get your own page and you start this conversation with yourself or
Hmm.
with a friend and you see your profile taking shape right there, and you can actually respond to it and say more like this, more like that. It's like you're doing an auto portrait where
Mm.
you can amend it as you go and say, no, segment that to be more my love profile. I didn't even know I was going to go there today, but that's love profile stuff. Keep that off of my friends and my other stuff. Oh, that I've discovered for a career thing. I want to amplify that one. I'm
Well,
feeling
you know what's
tickled.
nice about that with Swell, I would do it was 110,000 conversations I was involved with, but the 30 that were mine, I would only pick the ones that I'd want to go to Spotify. So I'd say go to Spotify. So that was public facing in a way, and then I'd have
Private
this
record.
yeah. But you know what's interesting is let's go back to voices and conversation for a second because I think it's worth dropping in around what the power of voice is disembodied. So if I am feeling something and I have the courage to pick up my phone and say, we had this during COVID a lot. We had a doctor in Italy that was suicidal because he was treating so many people dying. And he just found the phone at the end of the night and he would just talk and talk. And it was harrowing to hear his pain. But when voices started following in and flowing in on the bottom, he felt community. He never met these people and will never meet these people. But I'm not trying to build a better help world with shrinky dinks, but I do think that there was a place that I felt most at home with Swell, which was the revelation of people. I remember when there was a kid that died. It was beaten up. I forget his name. It was a trans kid that.
Honestly, this whole thing, when we talk about the Telegram and WhatsApp version of this, which we're not going to
Yeah.
unpack in great depth, but in a coded way what I'm referring to, which is like an exciting reveal for the
Yeah.
audience eventually,
Yeah.
is that voice thing within Telegram and WhatsApp groups. When you
Mhm.
think about the safety that they start to have to migrate into
Right.
vulnerable conversations when you feel the need to, and then these people being able to pseudonymously or anonymously chime in as the voices of support and counsel
Yeah.
and really have, we're going to have a little tag like I do in my men's group. Don't offer unsolicited advice, please. But
I,
on
I I have to
request,
learn that every day.
but on request, yes. And then when someone says no more unsolicited advice, please let's request that. Let's respect that. But that as an ethic, to be curious when invited, it's like kind of like Burning Man 10 principles, but 2.0, consent for feedback, right? For
Yeah,
advice.
no, it's absolutely true. And that's also just part of the culture that becomes you want to that line you don't want to cross into becoming a network of socializing. It's all stages. I think to your point, if you're imagining an Eden that's just decentralized and you're building a community of people, that is what social media was going to be, a global village, if you will. And I think we it didn't work. So, and I also think everyone's chunking back to the fact that they want to sit in company with each other. That's why Locamore makes so much sense because if we're going to do Locamore Mid-City or Culver City or Highland Park and of course Topanga, I think what your promise is, and this is really something I know we'll work on as a team, is what is it'll change, but what's the promise of somebody for somebody to turn their head and say, oh my gosh, I would like that very much. Thank you. It's not just the what am I doing on a Sunday morning? Let me check the listings based on a Locamore output, but it's more an awareness that you don't have to be frenetic all the time and think you're missing out. That FOMO thing is also a problem. So it's like, how do we help people manage quiet time with themselves and also knowing that right around the corner they can go to something, but not feel like they're missing out if they don't go, that there's all this interesting stuff.
Yeah, it's all going to happen in due divine time, as again, my wonderful hippie chick girls say. It's like we're emergent. Let it unfold. Let us awaken to our intuition of knowing where to go. Let's be like my friend Lucy, who I was expecting to meet on Sunday, but who had her phone off and spent the day with friends on her Sabbath day, right? Having gone to church, just did that flow to be in the mystery, at least for a day, right? A week is a really sane thing to do that I could only respond to her, no problem. Exactly the right thing to do. We'll get together when the moment is a fit. And then there's this other, feature to this that I'd like to emphasize just in the context of why Eden. Because of all the words that I search that are universally appreciated, Eden is used in almost every language as such because it's a proper name that comes from the Torah. So everyone, whether you believe in it as a belief system, it
Right.
references that thing that a humanist, secular, freaking, atheist can be like, as long as it's just a bookmark for a really nice green place that we all enjoy,
Uh-huh.
and it's not pushy culture, culty, I can get with that. And that's generally what I stand in there for. And it's an internal state that's
Very much so.
imminent
Very,
and present.
yeah.
It's what we do in our communities when suddenly it's like, oh, look who's here. Oh my goodness, this is pretty good in my town, and not what the news is reporting as an adrenal ad cluster F.
Mhm.
It's wonderful in my neighborhood every day. I had forgot, to look out there for my main news source. And at the coffee shop nearby and walking out my door, like I can guarantee you 99.9% of LA right now is living a benign experience with no violence in the home, no one yelling, no one doing anything, and friends outside and talking to their friends and their bros and their coworkers in a charming way, or aggravating each other with some hilarity. But it's like 0.1% is like actually not benign. So it's like, can we take that in? That's the overwhelming predominant experience,
Yeah.
truthful experience of our actual lived reality. And then from there, imagine, not with the complaint of like, America's never been worse. It's like, and we want it to be much better too. We want our Edenic villages as country homes. Why doesn't everyone have access to a natural country home? We'll do that with more alacrity, with more like swiftness and graciousness if we start to get it in here, in our neighborhoods. And that's why your actions central to this, your philosophy and methodology. So, we're painting the picture now. The homework is paint your dream for what you would express in this project with what you know way more than me as the center of action as an entrepreneurial node that also pairs with Playful Society as an explicit partner in every one of our projects and the things that we do. This is what we're doing for Locamor. It's in the frame of Playful Society. If people out there love this and have had an inkling, and you want to do it with Playful Society training to become an ambassador of Locamore in your town, she's launched. She's launching next week because it's just you doing it in a Zoom, and we have ambassadors and enrollment going and using the app like tomorrow, right? We do not need to delay, and you don't need to delay. And then it's like, who's funding Playful Society?
Mhm.
Anyone who loves this, like Brian Kest, contribute what you can. It can be in kind, and you're a bona fide member and come for the course. I'm doing it once a week on Zoom. When I have enough flow, it's twice a week. You're basically for Locomore, you're going to be doing this as often as you want, at
Absolutely.
home and online, right? And training ambassadors at home and online, and go
Mhm.
into different parts of LA. And if there are places you want to go and travel this winter, honestly, it gets to that pretty quickly because they're going to want to train with you because you really are a master of this and open to like learning from other masters for that matter who are experienced designers and
There's so
hosts.
many masters out there. It's crazy. It's a whole world, and it's also sensitized to the community and the sort of the currency of the day. Things change, things happen. What news broke that might have affect the room? How do you isolate that and have a sacred moment, but also honoring some people who can't get the focus? And also the onboarding for Locamore is obviously a tactical, practical thing with the warmth and the experience of what kind of onboarding will uh, be a 20, like it's like within 3 seconds they get, you hear a beautiful song and you hear the first three notes, you're like, I'm in.
Oh yeah,
And
and then we have a 5-minute video at most that's like we're using the best tech stack to be the most trusted decentralized. We're doing this corporate stack where it's an ownership governance model where you become a citizen by being a bona fide participant, deepening your profile and feeding back to us and your community
right,
certain level, and you're like a voting citizen in this thing. The
yeah.
intention for Locomore is exit to community, reward the original risk takers, stakeholders, and contributors to this. So there'll be a bonus for the people who throw in incentives, but not like 90% of the cap table. a small amount. We're going to create something very big and flowy that flows mostly back into your community and incentivizes the hosts and the contributors within communities. And that's the goal here, to model something that has unicorn incentives, but you don't need much to do that, is my
And I
way.
think your point is really important around the immediate effect of this is I don't really care about if I'm in a localized space, I don't if I'm a Topanga, I just want this to explode in Topanga so I know my Topanga. It's not their business to have to worry about people in mid-city because the person who's coming in is doing it to better their life, not to better the app. So it's really, and not to sound like people are selfish, but in the end of the day, their time and their money and their person is self-serving to a healthy extent. So those are the kinds of people that can hear our vision, but it's not what their pain point is. Their pain point is, yeah, I'd like to know where I get a massage better because I don't know who does the technique I want.
And though, because you're pouring your heart into this, you want to know that there's no possibility that a 23andMe can happen with this because we're
That's
not
right.
going to
Right.
VC. We're not going to owe people who want to, like, you need to pay back now or whatever. It's purpose investment, mission investment, hands-off investment that's at risk. If we don't pay back, it's tough luck. But honestly, this is going to thrive.
And
And
that's a
those
big
ethics are really important for people, even if they don't get it right away. But it's like good
major.
analogies to say, if it was like this, wouldn't you feel like, oh, that's a different universe than we really have been data raped. We have no data nation. I don't even have a data self. Oh, that's interesting. What if I had a data self and we had a data nation and it was organized in the way I wish my real nation was, not co-opted by wealth and power and elections that can be manipulated? Oh, this is us. Maybe we're going to have a random sortition assembly to run the governance on this so it can't
You're
be
actually
purchased.
competing with cynicism right now and pain and people feeling raped. You're right. And that's a big layer of the work right there is to how to not give it too much airtime, but to address it is it's exciting. It's exciting work.
And then testimonials and testimonials for once we get one village or two that are doing it, it's like, no, it's a lot of fun. Scott's talking about all this other stuff, which made me feel safe, but really that's cool and that's in the background. And here's the endorsement from the top trust leaders who've been trying to do this like me for 30 years, saying that I think we finally have a pathway to do this right. And most of the testimonial is like, oh yeah, no, my career's doing better. I'm starting to find friends like I couldn't even imagine. I found about my friends that I never even knew and about myself. This is a really powerful thing we're doing together. Please join us and help propagate it in our town. The sooner the better. You want a better world, have responsibility. This is a responsibility machine for more responsive world, community,
Yeah.
alive, local. We're taking your attention economy and turning it into intention and connection and IRL. Come on. Yeah, there's no VR that ever can even compete with your living room. There's just no way.
Yes. You want to come to acupuncture with me?
Oh yeah, I'm there. I've got my own magic happening this afternoon. Thank you.
Nice, nice. All right,
But
I owe you a document, which I will get to you. And I'm really, I'm so aware of the presence of positivity and imagination and creativity. Those are things I want. So I'm loving that.
yeah, want to live I can't be feel better than to say, we're creating a sandbox for others. And as the way is the game of and the goal of everything that we do, like literally the way we conduct ourselves, the way I'm engaging with you, and I'm challenged continually to find it in here. It's curiosity is like this is a playground for you as much as it is for me.
Yeah.
And the more that you can really own that what you want, what you've wanted to do as your dream is so profoundly aligned with what this is, the more that you can move into it with your wish list for what your project would look like fully nourished and flourished,
Mhm.
and what you would do now on the budget that I can give you to start moving in it and use the resources we have, and then ask our network to join with other spaces and places and
Mhm.
facilitator and support and food. And they're
Yeah.
getting equity in this thing because we've got a cap table and start to stack it now. And then we start to get cash in. We can distribute cash to everyone now. That's the engine where your dreams are like, the First Nations people are like, when you're on a vision quest, you realize that everything you need is within a walking distance.
Absolutely. And also everything you need in your vision quest is the awareness that you're having the moment now and you don't have to wait for it. Like you were saying to me, what's my vision? What's my ultimate goal? What do I want to see? I want to see my days be very nourishing for me because I'm at a certain point in my life where I've had days that I've allowed to be empty and not with the things that make me smile and laugh. And that's why I'm building a world in which I can have great days. Great days. Here's to great days to an empty teacup. Very frustrating, but it still has potential to hold future tea.
Mocha
Fu-
cup.
Here's to future tea.
We read the tea leaves, right? That
All
looks
right.
good. Looks like the universe to me.
I
Um,
know. When you have empty tea leaves, it's always great, but then when it's stuck inside a bag, you're like, oh, that's not so. I pick I have a lot of peppermint like crazy in my backyard, and I've gotta get that in my daily routine because I do it at night. I gotta do it in the morning. Why do I only do it at night? Like,
we
gotta do
got
it
to
in the
do
morning.
another one of these on kibbutzim and like
Yeah.
experience versions. We're going to have a bunch of podcasts because I think, like the way that you would in Swell, there's this depth that unfolds between synergistic people, especially working together, where the possibility of friendship is profound anyway. And I think we've already had
Yeah.
an inkling of it to be able to document the unfolding of it for others where we're courageous enough to want to and run the experiments ourselves using the app. We'll do that next time. Maybe we'll do that with Elliot. But I see like this, your podcast experience. You know how we really want those podcasts to be is like this authentic relating, not too heavily formatted, dynamic, like in the way of counsel. Flow with it, hold a
Oh
through
my God.
line,
And
give
I have
people
to
the
tell you,
takeaways and the
yeah.
TLDRs, but also not get too structured and not get
When you
too
say
lost in the improv.
it's TLDR for you to listen to later, is that the one that's
Oh, too long didn't read.
oh
We
too
can
long didn't read, right?
we
I was
have
saying, how do I
something.
know that acronym and like too
We
long?
can generate the key top lines for people in shorts
Yeah,
that get excerpted from these things, but also in our own effort to say, what's our through line for what today is about? Today is about learning about Deborah, learning about the project in the
yeah,
light of her perspective, your perspective, and mine. This unfolding emergence that people are going to approach it differently. And because it's you, Deborah, they will relate to you as a friend. They'll still get lost in Scott's word salad and your word salad, but
absolutely.
professionals in the fields that you are in and that I'm an amateur in are going to be like, whoa, what are they doing? Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's a great exercise also to that's why marketing with a small m, not a big M, is a really good thing to have the discipline of within structure there's freedom within that sense of like okay find 6 words that best describe blank and then in those exercises you breathe deeply or you just have a different experience because you find like when you told me telescope and microscope as a metaphor for what Locamor is it for me that I don't even need I don't need to eat lunch. Like that was my lunch. Like it nourished my need to understand the expansiveness and also the very specific granular experience one person would have in one day and one moment that they have a need that they get met through Locamore or felt this need to add to Locamore. So I think, that sometimes you find the best things in no salad at all, just a leaf of lettuce.
Yeah. And the experience of eating the salad. And that's really most of our enrollment's going to be experiential. But this is really important for the team to understand and build confidence, lose the cynicism of like, oh, we're already rolling with excellence right now. I can see where this can go is really important. And for mutual respect of who's on team, that,
Mhm.
if we did like a day long, it would be hard to get to this depth for each
Yeah,
of the
you're right.
people.
I think it's very, very smart of you to do this. I'm happy we did it. And
I'm getting today, like I just wrote down, I think everyone track your time, paid time to watch each other. It's that important.
I understand. TLDR is also very dismissive when you send something to somebody and they're like, too long didn't read. It's like, oh, I fucked up. I'm a bad person. I didn't say it quick enough. I hit them at the wrong time. Like I remember now I have a memory of this note just from somebody.
I
And
like
it's
it. Well, it's also used as the bullets at the top of a document, so you can just go there and say, is it worth
absolutely
my time? Give it
Right.
to people in highlights first so they can choose whether they want to go in depth, which is the purpose of social shorts from stuff like this, so people can watch the long one if they want to.
And I want to tell you that Riverside and a couple of other great video podcast companies now are doing your
I'm going to
sizzle.
bio break and I can hear you while you're talking, but I'm
And
just going to do that. Do you like,
they do sizzles for you, but I have to go. Um, as I talk with you, sweet little picture, by the way. I have to hop in my car, so I'm not late for acupuncture. I'm just saying that the podcast world right now is so streamlined. It gives you video and audio at the same time, and it also creates sizzle for you. So you can just say, do the highlights here, and then you can get out so many different versions. But the long version is what people really can drop into when they want to say, wow, those are highlights I want to watch, and I'm going to do that. I personally have never used Riverside, but I think there's another one, I forget the name of it, that's hot on its tail that's supposed to be better at doing editing.
Descript? We're using Descript, and Katrina, who I'm meeting later, is my Descript wizard. And so
Great.
it just does the shorts automatically. It's got better
Yeah.
editing tools. I don't
Right.
like using it for the live because I find it's glitchy in the actual moment. So I prefer Zoom for the recording, and then we're just going to pump Zoom through there. When we get fancy, each of us will have cameras and the whole thing
Yeah.
and do it all fancy. But I don't even like those microphones. I'm like,
And I want to say something else that's really just hitting me while you're talking, like, which is that I feel like I've been a gearhead for 6 months, 6 years now of like the technology stuff, and I feel like I could do the best of it. For where I'm at, I'm very, very understanding of it. But I'm so happy when you just mentioned Katrina and other people because I'm not as efficient as those people that are more engineering. And I mean, I could set up a whole audio system for you, but it's not really where my heart is right now.
you have to. It's this part of podcasting that I think, we're modeling it.
Yeah.
And then I'm also giving you the free rein to run the Locamor podcast that's experiential versions of this with Deb and friends.
Oh my God, it's a revelatory moment because there's a woman who was talking to me about doing a podcast for CEOs and stuff like that, but it's going to be talking heads. It's not alive. It's not going to a place where you get to ask those really cool questions of people. I love not talking in podcasts, by the way, just so you know. I love asking great questions
Well, and then we're
because
going to have audience chime in. So that's our premium version is it's the live
yeah.
Zoom to YouTube. And if you're a premium subscriber, you can actually enter the Zoom in the audience, and then we'll do a Q&A in the end and take some of those best
Yes.
questions and
Yes.
pull them into
Oh my God.
the show.
And also recording live, what I did for the menopause podcast, it was so much fun. And with Get Smart Radio, I can send you the link. I spent 4 years doing live podcasts in cafes, and I would edit out and only have like a 10-minute podcast, but the event was 2 hours because we had so much fun. I'm like, okay, here are the highlights for a podcast. If you really want to have fun, show up at the next podcast. Because the podcast itself, yeah, we got some great comments from people that were there about the topic, but the stuff is showing up and putting up some microphones in your space or whatever space. And
And we have the team to manage the whole back end. So you're unleashed on
exactly.
that. So again,
It's
I'm
so
going to
much
send you
fun.
the notes. You're going to work up what your project plan is. You have the
Okay,
rest of the year to tighten it up with us and a
I
budget
will.
for what it is and how you're going to schedule your time and the whole thing. But I want to unleash you. You're the best investment ever.
Same way.
Amen.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna go poke myself now.